Hey Martin, it's Andreas here. Thank you for reaching out. I apologize for the delay. It's just been, I'm not sure if it's the lockdown or what's going on, but everything is just crazy busy, all right? But this shouldn't be your problem. I just want to say I apologize, all right? Now, I want to look at a couple of things. You talk about the hips spinning out. You talk about you deal with a little bit of early extension. I think there's more things to look at that might be causing some of these things, all right? What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to look at your swing from both sides. I'm going to put in some reference points. So I don't know about the camera angle here. It looks like it is a little bit tilted in this direction. I always put in the lead shoulder just to see how that moves. I would say that should be at about here. I'm going to put a line on the trail hip, and that's just to look at how the center of the pelvis moves throughout the swing. I'm going to box in the head to look at the center of your shoulders and how they move. And I'm going to do the same thing from down the line, right? So this is just to look at the lower center. I'm going to put a line on the knees, and I'm going to put a line on the... you know what, this line's going to look a little different. It's going to look like this. Put a line on the butt. This helps me just monitor the lower center. I'm also going to box in your head. And then down the line view, I'm going to put in some reference points, just of the shaft plane and one of the elbow plane. I am also going to put a line on the heel stance line right here, all right? And that's basically just to look at the depth of your hands. Now, if we start by looking from the face-on view, let's just run them through together, actually. So we go to 1 to 2. Everything looks pretty nice. Hands are moving up the shaft plane, so is the club head. This is nice, all right? If we go from 2 to 3, we'll see the head translate a little bit, or the upper center translate a little bit. But we'll also see the hands are starting to move upwards, right? So that's you flexing the right arm that ends up moving the button of the club more upwards. Now we go to the top, or P4, and here I'd start to pay attention to a couple of things, all right? So I see from basically 3.5 to 4, we start to see the butt end of the grip move basically, hang on, let me do a different one. Basically stops moving inwards and starts just moving upwards, right? And if we look at that, it basically comes when the pelvis and the shoulders from the face-on view, when they stop turning. See that? So they stop turning away from the target, right around here. Now, what does that do? This could be a pretty good looking spot to be. I would say if you wanted to hit a pull fade to a low straight ball. Why am I saying that? Well, because if we look at where the hands were at 3, right here, we would see that the handle's right here. And we look at 5, we'll see the club come in through the shoulder. We'll see the hands be more out at 5 than they were at 3, which I think you should be. However, you're going to do with the arm this far out, sitting with the butt end of the club sitting on the toe line right now, you're going to end up swinging down and across it. So I think 5's actually a pretty nice picture. However, in my opinion, your hair too turned and the arm's too far out. So we'll end up getting to 6 or 6-ish. This is also a really nice picture, in my opinion. Yes, I think the pelvis could be a hair more forward. than what it was when it started. We'll see the hands basically start to move from down the line. See the hands at this point, they should be moving up and to the left. They're actually moving downwards through the ball, right? And yeah, we'll see the right knee be a little bit too turned in. But to be honest, I don't think that's too bad. What we will see is that the exit is a hair lower than it entered, which tells me the swing direction is to the left, which means that to push the ball, you have to hit down really hard on it to move your path far enough to the right. I wouldn't do that. Look from phase on. Yes, I think the pelvis is a hair too open. I completely agree. I think it's a hair too far back as well. But I think this picture right here comes from some movements all the way back, basically from P3 to 4 to 5 on how to move, all right? Now, how should this look? I would say kind of like this. I'll put in another picture. This is Marcus. What I want to show you is a couple of things, right? Because I think these things becomes the important ones, really. I think we need to get you to a spot where you can actually swing out of the golf ball, maybe even swing too far out of the golf ball, and then it starts to make sense doing the leg work, in my opinion. If we look at this, we put in the same reference points. I put the heel line in here because I think this is a pretty basic reference point. This is where I would prefer the butt of the club is at the top of the backswing. So if we look at Marcus, oops, hang on. Because what we'll see is we'll see quite a few pictures in here that look fairly similar. 1 to 2 looks fairly similar. 2 to 3 looks fairly similar as well. But what you'll start to see is that when he gets to the end of his backswing, right around here from P3, he keeps moving his butt of the club in this direction. Where you basically just end up lifting your arms more upwards. So you lack some depth, in my opinion. Now, where do we get depth from? Well, I'd say we get it from, because, well, hang on. Let me go back. Because right here, you'll see when Marcus swings down, his hands are also further out at 5 than they were at 3, like they should be. So that movement you've got down. However, because your hands aren't deep enough, at 4, you end up swinging out at it. So you can see his butt of the club at 5, which is really the important picture, is a lot further in than yours, right? So you can turn through this shot, you can extend through this shot while still swinging out on it, where you end up hitting across it. So we need to change what's happening from here to here. And what you'll see from this side is if we go to the top, or P4, is that his trail arm is in a different spot than yours, right? So you'll see you have your trail arm more flexed, and you have your trail elbow or trail shoulder more internally rotated, where Marcus's has more external rotation of shoulder he has more extension of his trail arm, and what he also has is more retraction of his right scapula. All right, so that's one of the parts that really, really helps him compared to you. Now, the second part that he also adds in there to get even more depth is from right around here. I think you guys are in fairly similar spots, turning wise, but when Marcus keeps turning from 3 to 4, and as he does that, he actually starts, while he keeps turning, he starts falling onto his late foot. Now, he doesn't do it as much as most, so I'll give you a second example of somebody who does that. But he keeps turning. That also moves his hand path more backwards. When I look at you, it's almost as if you're done turning now, and now it just becomes the arms lifting. So when we get to 4, you will see a much bigger shoulder turn in him than we do in you, all right? So that becomes the next thing, is you need to turn more. We need to turn more. We need to retract that right shoulder blade. We need to externally rotate the right arm more. We need to have it straighter. The last thing you need, and I'll show this, and I think I'll do this as a couple of extreme examples, right? And that would be looking at a guy like Ben Hogan, because I think this is actually really, really cool. So put a line on the trail hip. You'll see he basically stays on it to right here, but what starts to happen now, which is really cool, is that he keeps turning his chest and his pelvis away from the target, but as soon as the club starts moving towards the target, you'll also notice that his pelvis starts moving forward, right? I think that's your hip slide, all right? It's a matter of this move happening earlier. What this also does is it keeps him closed longer, so he's turning away from the target while he's moving towards it. All of a sudden, I think you'll see this leg work clean up really, really nicely. If we look at this from another player, let's look at Mcelroy. We'll see some of the same stuff. So watch how late his knees square up. So watch this. Right here before he hits the top of the backswing, you'll see him start to turn again away from the target while he starts moving towards it. So there's his hip slide. You'll see how much more closed his legs are. They don't square up until now, right? So that's really, really late. One more example. Let's pull in Cameron Champ. Again, we'll start to see some of the same things, right? You'll see him turn away from the target while he starts moving towards it. And let's put on the last example. Tommy Fleetwood. The reason I'm doing this line a little later is because the camera tends to move on this one. But watch this again. You will see him turn away from the target as he starts moving towards the target. All right, so he's got a head start that you're missing. You need to turn more, first of all. We need the right arm more across or moving more behind you, around you. And then you need to fall more onto your lead foot earlier, all right? All of these things will help you swing more out of the golf ball, to hit the ball higher, to make it easier to draw it. Now, I want to pull in one exercise that I don't have the ball with me, but if you have one of these, this could actually be good for you. So this is Frederick. He's got some of the same tendency as you. And what we've done is we've put him against like a yoga ball. And the cool thing, the way we've done it, is that what I want him to do is turn away from the target, right? When he gets to the top, I want him to lift his left foot so he can feel that if he lifts it, he's going to fall towards the target. Now, if you have one of these, that would actually be really good practice for you. I think you'd get some feel out of it. I think you'll feel a humongous amount of pressure underneath the trail foot, but it's not that you're pushing. That's just because you have your weight in front of your pressure. And I think this will help you with some feels. Now I'm going to record a second video where I'll run you through how I'd work the arms and how I would work the transition of the pelvis. All right, bye.